All right, we welcome our friend Derek Lewandowski to the show. Of course, the host of Pinstripe Territory, Yankees podcaster. He's been doing it a ton of times, 67,000 on YouTube. Derek, what is up, my friend? How are you?
Oh, I'm just looking forward to this fun weekend rematch we got going on here.
Shall you and I make a little bit of a bet on that?
Let's do it. Let's go. I'm ready.
All right. I'm going to say just straight up for series win. If the Yankees win, I donate to a charity of your choice, $50. If the Dodgers win, you donate $50 to my charity. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. Let's do it.
I would have been the first to say I don't think we're talking about the Yankees enough, Derek. This is a team that has a 7-game lead in the division, the largest division lead. We always give Cashman grief. Let's give him some praise. What's making him so good and kind of running away with things?
You know, Plan B has turned out to be an A+. I mean, the plan was to sign Juan Soto and to probably do something similar like they did last year with Judge in center, Soto in right. They, spent that money elsewhere, obviously. Paul Goldschmidt's sitting about 350. He's on pace for, I believe, about 200 hits. Max Fried is pitching like a Cy Young Award winner. And, I mean, Bellinger has really turned it on lately. So right now, the backup plan has made the Yankees, in my opinion, a much more well-rounded team than the one that you guys spent all winter dunking on for not being fundamentally sound and all the problems we had in the World Series. I think you should be prepared for a much tighter baseball team and a much better base running team and a much better contact hitting team as we approach this weekend.
Wait, so you're saying Cashman did a good job? Is that what I heard you say?
I know. I mean, that sound you hear is the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, just, hell freezing over. That crackling noise is me admitting that Cashman did a fantastic job. And by the way, I love the mustache. You got that feel of like the 1970s
Tom Selleck
thing rocking. I love it. I mean, that suits you, man.
I appreciate that. You're not the first person to acknowledge that I wasn't good looking before the mustache, and really it's not hurting anything that was going on. But so Cashman's moves, obviously he took all that money that he wasn't going to spend on Juan and he put it elsewhere. So does this mean the next time Juan comes back to the Bronx, he gets cheered? Because the boos were kind of eyewash because they didn't want him back. Look at what they got in place of him.
Well, I think a lot of Yankees fans still view him, regardless of what happened afterwards, as being kind of a turncoat for going to our city rival for really a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things over what the Yankees offered. I believe it's $5 million, but one less year, so a higher AAV. And saying it was a Mets town, I think that was what really set fans off. And I don't think that they'll ever stop booing him just for that. I mean, Jesus Christ could come back from wherever he is and say it's a Mets town and he would get booed at Yankee Stadium. It doesn't matter who says it's a Mets town. They're getting booed. And Soto, I'm sorry, you're no exception.
Derek, can I just say this first of all? Can we bring on Alana at the same time? Alana, you love the Dodgers, okay? They have a pretty high payroll. You also work for the Red Sox. They have a lot of money. They're kind of like the Cubs. They play cheap, okay? Derek, you root for the Yankees. You do a show about the Yankees. You guys are big markets. $50? $50. That's where we're going. $50 wager. Can we go like at least $100?
I mean, I don't have big league money like you do, Pierzynski, with your Toro toilets and all of the crap that you have in your house and all of these things. I'm happy to do 100. I just didn't want to assume that Derek wanted to do that. I don't even know what his charity of choice is. Mine is my own charity, my own nonprofit. So I didn't want to be assumptive, if you will.
So honestly, Alana, it's going to be the true dogs versus cats because I'm a cat charity guy. So it's really we're going to be helping animals either way. So no matter who wins, and I'm happy to do $100 because I don't think that the Dodgers are going to win.
Wow. Okay. No problem. Here is the bet. We're shaking
Let's
right
do
here.
It. Let's
$100.
do it.
All right.
$100.
Yeah, that's perfect. Are they buyers at the trade deadline, Derek Lewandowski? This squad is obviously headed towards the postseason. What's their biggest need?
Obviously third base has been kind of a shuffle. It would be nice if there was somebody out there, but I don't see an obvious fit. every team needs pitching. You know, a starting pitcher would be nice, but I'm not sure who you're going to get that's better than what they've got. Will Warren has been fantastic. Over his last month, he has a 2.05 ERA. As I mentioned, Max Fried and Carlos Rodon both dominating. Rodon 6-0 in his last 8 appearances with a 1.27. Max Fried is insane. And you got Clark Schmidt as a potential piece to that playoff rotation. You only need 4 starters in the rotation. So if you go out and get a starter, you're probably getting a depth piece because I don't know who's better than those guys. And you got Luis Gil coming back from injury. We'll see what he can do. I hope he's strong, but coming back from an injury, you never know. So I would say third base would be the spot. But again, I'm not sure who they could go out and get that is a real upgrade. So if I'm Brian Cashman, I'm looking at the bullpen. I want to strengthen the bullpen. I'm looking at teams that have fallen out of it that maybe have an arm that gives you a funky look. Maybe somebody, you don't even need somebody who has insane numbers. Just somebody who's a different look, maybe misses some bats, can get some of those middle inning outs, because right now the Yankees are a little bit thin in the bullpen despite the stats for the bullpen being pretty good. I don't know if the Orioles would make Felix Bautista available if they really fall out of it, but that would be the guy that if I'm Cashman, I'm willing to overpay a little bit, even though it's kind of an in-division trade. They have done that before with Zach Britton. That's the guy I've been promoting on my trade. Cashman, go do it.
Yeah, Felix Bautista, the Orioles are out of it. They've not fallen. If they fall out of it, they're fallen out of it. All right, what about Jazz Chisholm?
Read by Dominguez on the bases, or wow, I didn't think he'd score from first on that double, but the guy can cook on the bases.
Derek, before we let you go, I want to ask you this question legitimately. Do you believe the Yankees are back in the World Series, or do you worry that the Tigers will surpass them?
Well, I do worry about the Tigers. I think the Tigers are probably right now the toughest team in the American League. And Tariq Skubal, I don't know if you guys saw his last outing. I happened to be watching that game live, and it was one of the best games I've ever seen pitched. I mean, it was up there with Kerry Wood in his 20 strikeout game in just terms of stuff, the best stuff I've ever seen live. You're talking about 102 in the 9th inning from a lefty. I can't see beating him twice in a short game series. Now, if you get to a 7-game series, I think anything can happen. And a lot of it depends on who has home field advantage. I would rather not play, 4 games in Detroit. That would, we've seen that not match up well for the Yankees back in, I believe it was 2006. And again in 2012. Look, the Tigers are no joke. And I think you just got to, let this thing play out. And, we'll see where everybody is at the end of the year.
One of the questions we had earlier, what are we more surprised about? The Mariners start or the location where the Mariners are in the West or the Yankees are in the East? Is the American League East not the beast? It's more the American League least this year? Or is it just a little bit of a slowdown and waiting for all the other teams to start to get hot?
Well, what really surprises me is how the Orioles have fallen off. I mean, I thought they were going to be top of the division for a decade when they won 100 games a couple of years ago. Their pitching has fallen off. Their hitting hasn't developed like we thought it would. The Blue Jays always seem to be a team that hovers around 500, and you keep waiting for them to take that next step, and they just haven't. The Red Sox were a team that everybody was very high on this year because of their young talent, but right now they're under 500, and they just lost Bregman. The Rays are always tough, but I don't think that they have what it takes in terms of just talent on their roster right now to overcome the Yankees. So I've been saying the Yankees need to seize this opportunity where they're playing well, and that's one of the reasons why this weekend is so important, to run away and hide. Get a 12 or 13 game lead in the division, and then maybe you can rest some guys down the stretch. You can maybe take it easy a little bit with Luis Gil, not rush him back and have him be at full strength coming into the postseason. Maybe you don't have to be as desperate at the trade deadline and trade your top prospect. But, the Mariners, obviously, we faced them a couple weeks ago. They played 3 very tough games against the Yankees. They've obviously got good pitching. Their hitting has been better this year. The NL West is always tough. The Astros probably are going to contend with them all year long. But I do think that in terms of the division strength, the East is probably the least competitive. I mean, you look at the Central, you got 4 teams legitimately who could be in the playoffs. Right now, at least it looks like it's Yankees and maybe one other is going to compete.
Derek, what is over your right shoulder? What are all those things over your right shoulder? They look like CDs.
Tchotchkes.
No, we got no. So
no, all the way towards the wall. Towards the wall.
Oh,
like way back.
So I have a Blu-ray collection. I'm a big movie collector, and I'm a very smart investor too. So over the years, I've invested thousands and thousands of dollars in physical media, which I don't use anymore.